Petersen, the CEO of the SAFA Development Agency. Robin, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here, even though it's a little distracting with a game going on in the background.
Tell us now, from the Olympic experience, we sent two sides through there. What did you guys learn from that endeavor?
You know, Vision 2022 was a plan we formulated 10 years ago. It's a 10-year plan. So we're not quite halfway, but nearly halfway in moving towards that. And the outcome of that plan is to create the structures that will allow us to produce consistently winning national teams.
Right.
And we set a very high goal. We said these teams should always be ranked in the top 3 in Africa, top 20 in the world. Now, if we look at our junior teams, under 17s got to the World Cup for the first time.
Yeah, we had a very successful run with.
So under 17s got to the World Cup for the first time, top 3 in Africa, top 20 in the world. The under 20s just missed out on going to the World Cup, but they're there and thereabout. The under 23s, first time since 2000 that we've gone to the Olympics. So I think if we look at the pipeline that is leading towards 2022. It's not our current Bafana squad, it's the pipeline that's leading towards that. I'm very optimistic that we will start to see the fruits of the development coming through. We're already seeing it, and that will consolidate over the next 5 years to enable us to achieve our goal. We've still got a lot of work to do. We're not there yet. We've got a lot of work to do, but we're certainly on the right path.
I mean, I introed it as saying it's, basically about getting the teams to all play the same style, but it's not as simple as that. It is a very comprehensive vision. Unpack a little bit further, because it goes all the way down to match officials and how football is run in the country.
So there's 7 core pillars of the plan. Number 1 is around the national philosophy, so the same style of football. 2 is about building a proper and robust talent pipeline. We're launching in the next month, piloting in Johannesburg, our Emerging Talent Center program. We aim eventually to have 400 local talent centers or emerging talent centers around the country, which will be led by a team of 3 coaches working with the best talent from that area. And that I think will be a game changer for us. It's an expensive program, but we're on our way to starting the implementation. 3 has been around really creating a competitive match structure. So we've invested in building under 13, under 15, under 17 leagues in all of our 342 local football associations. That's been a massive undertaking. 4 is around coach education, and that's one of the things that I'm most excited about. We set ourselves an ambitious goal of training 10,000 coaches a year. It sounds enormous. It is enormous.
It is enormous.
But it translates into 30 coaches in each one of our local football associations. When you put it like that, it's not impossible.
It's basically
but it's
a
still
league.
Big.
It's a league
so we're training coaches. This year we have trained over 2,000 coaches. With the investment we've had, for instance, from PPC Cement in the Eastern Cape over the last 3 years, one of the corporates who came on board to support us with their investment over the last 3 years in the Eastern Cape, we've trained over 300 coaches, 240 administrators, over 100 referees. So we've really invested in building the foundations of a football infrastructure in terms of coaches, administrators, referees, that will eventually produce the winning formula of development at a local level. And that's where it has to start.
Is it not just that, football is a tough environment to live in, especially at the international level? I mean, we all judge our football based on Bafana, but they live in a very, very difficult world. They're not like the rugby players or the cricketers who just have 8 or 9 nations competing against them. These guys really are up against the world, isn't it?
And qualifying in Africa, it's been said a lot of times, but it's worth repeating. Qualifying in Africa is extremely difficult. I mean, there are 53 nations. The standard of football is really high, but it's also the quality of the pitches when we play away, sometimes poor match officials, a lot of things that make it extremely tough for our players to qualify in Africa. And Europe has got fewer nations, but has got double the number of places. So it makes it a lot more difficult if you're just on the cusp It's only 5 teams that go to the World Cup. So if you're 6th, you lose out. So there's an enormous amount that we have to do. We're on the way. We're also rolling out through our Safe Hub program a really innovative program of building football infrastructure with a youth development program that targets over 2,000 youth per centre, modeled on a very, very successful project that was set up and run for the last 8 years by Mandla EduFootball. And we've taken that model, we're building it to roll out 100 of these centres countrywide. So I think all of these different building blocks of success are coming together. The funding is coming together. Government is putting money into the Safe Hub program. Corporates are putting money into the development side of youth development and football development. SAFA is using the money from the Legacy Trust to build a National Technical Centre, which will really be the pinnacle of our talent pipeline.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big job.
It is. It's a huge...
and it's starting from a low base, and we are gradually, however, really excited about the progress that we're making.
Long overdue, I'd say, as well. But now, what are the clubs, what buy-in do the clubs give? Because if you want to get all the, the different aspects there, surely the players' clubs also need to come to the party.
The clubs have a very important role to play. We only have 32 professional clubs. The first in the Premier League and the First Division. So there are not a lot of opportunities for professional players in the country. It's a good career if they make it, but there are not a lot of opportunities. What we really want the clubs to do, and thankfully many of them are doing that, is to build world-class academies and youth structures.
Yeah.
Because the elite of all of that base that we're building gradually has to filter its way into the professional game. So SAFA is committed to building and running 9 provincial academies, our National Technical Academy, but we need 32 really well-run club academies, club development structures that will sit there as the pinnacle of and the entry point into professional football. So, the PSL, some of the clubs are doing a great job, others not so well. But the whole club licensing program that the PSL is implementing under SAFA will ensure that part of the requirement for having a professional team is to have a development structure. So we're excited about that as well.
So given the nature of how big this and the scope of all this Vision 2022, you don't think setting a deadline by 2022 was perhaps a little bit too soon?
One has to put a stake in the ground and say, it's a 10-year plan. That's our goal, top 3 in Africa, top 20 in the world. I think that it's almost like, it builds like a hockey stick in a way that, or if you talk about building a big building, a lot of the time of a big building is building the foundations. It's going deep, it's going underground, it's messy, you don't see what's going on.
Yeah.
It's not something you can publicize. But as the building gradually starts to emerge out of its foundations, then suddenly, before you know it, there's this massive building in front of you that's finished and is beautiful. And I think that we're in that phase of starting to emerge out of the foundations, and I think we're going to start seeing a very strong structure going forward.
Well, Dr. Robin Petersen, thank you very much for joining us and outlining all about Vision 2022. We wish you all the best as you clean up and solidify South African football.
Thank you very much.
Right, well, we're off to the Mbombela Stadium now in Nelspruit.